Flags of European countries and their lookalikes. This is brought to you by the FamilyHistoryFoundation.com, and check us out on my blog over there, FamilyHistoryFoundation.com, for tons of different articles, resources on genealogy, family history, books, and all sorts of cool things over there. So like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you appreciate the content. If not, let's get right into it. So flags of European countries and their lookalikes. This is a really cool topic because if you're into flags, you'll notice that there are various similarities to flags around the world, and we're going to specifically focus on Europe here, just do some comparative analysis visually. But before we do that, let's take a look at some terminology. The key to cracking the code of vexillology is to understand proportions and hues. Okay? Flags are not just about designs and colors. They are a bit more subtle than that. They are about the hues and the proportions that inform those designs. So, if you understand that, you've hoisted yourself up to glory. The flags of European countries have tons of lookalikes, many similar designs that make them look the same to the untrained eye, and can even put the vex in vexillology. Thankfully, well, you have me to take you on a tour of them. So if you'd like a really cool tutorial on the flags of European countries and their designs, go over to FamilyHistoryFoundation.com. I'll link a link to the article on my blog over there that actually talks about the different designs of European flags by region. And I think this is really cool. Using flag maps. How can you resist that? Well, what you want to pay attention to are the proportions of the flags in each category, as well as the hues or shades of colors used by each country, as they do vary very subtly, as mentioned before. For example, while the flags of Denmark and Norway may look similar at first glance, the hex codes for each red is different, as well as the overall proportions of the flag itself. Proportions are dimensions, expressed in ratios, 2:1, 5:8, etc. And each country's flag uses a slightly different ratio. If you look closely, the flag of Denmark is taller than the flags of Norway, Sweden, and Finland, which we'll be showing you in a slide coming up in just a second. So keep this in mind as you compare the flags of European countries below in each category, and you will begin to distinguish them as different. So here we go. The Nordic cross flags, as I like to call them. So again, proportions and hues. Here we have the flag of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. So you can feel free to pause this video anytime if you want to sort of take a closer look. If not, I'm going to sort of go through the slides one by one without pausing. So if you want to pause, of course, pause and rewind and forward and do what you want to do. Okay? Enjoy. Next up, we have Belgium and Germany. So take a look at the colors are the same. However, Belgium's colors are oriented in a different order. However, they are vertical instead of horizontal. Netherlands and Luxembourg. So almost the same color. This is a great example of the hues being varied between the countries. Also, the proportions of the flag are slightly different. Netherlands incorporating a darker sort of shade than Luxembourg, but similar, aren't they? Now, these is one of my favorite set here. Andorra, which actually is a country in Europe, situated between France and Spain, Moldova, Romania, and Chad, which is a non-European nation. But look at the proportions and hues there. It's almost scary, actually, how similar these flags are, especially between Romania and Chad. I think Chad borrowed something here. Here we have Hungary, Bulgaria, Italy, and Tajikistan. So most notably, you would look at Hungary and Bulgaria as they're sort of horizontally orientated and using very similar colors, except in different orders. And you can compare Hungary with Tajikistan, which are sort of similar. The stripes are a little bit of different values there. And the famous Italian flag, which incorporates the same color scheme, but of course oriented vertically instead of horizontally, but pretty similar if you just looked at them. There definitely are lookalikes. Poland, Monaco, Indonesia, and Singapore. So these are sort of red and white flags. The two European flags here, we have Poland and Monaco. And if you look at them, of course, the proportions are different. And of course, Poland having its famous flag with white on top, red on the bottom, and Monaco's flip-flopped in slightly darker hue. And sort of Indonesia and Singapore using similar colors there. So very, very similar as far as lookalikes. Here we have Ireland and the Ivory Coast. So very, very similar, except the colors are flip-flopped, aren't they? Right? The very, very famous Irish flag, and of course Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire. And moving on to the Slavic flags. Oh yes, they are all sort of offshoots of the Russian tricolor white, blue, and red flag. And if you notice very quickly, they all use those same colors, however, in different proportions. And as in the case of Croatia and Serbia, it's actually the Russian flag kind of flip-flopped, or Serbia's case is, and Croatia just reorders them. And the Czech Republic, what they did was they took the blue stripe and turned it into a triangle corner there. But very, very similar in terms of lookalikes. The colors, the sort of horizontal tricolor, and a few interspersed badges on the flags themselves. And lest we forget, we can reintroduce the Netherlands flag back into the equation, and it kind of almost has that similar sort of feel to it. So very much again in the realm of lookalikes. So let's look at Austria and Latvia, Lebanon, and from the Pacific, Tahiti. So Austria and Latvia, similar. Of course, the Latvian flag, much more sort of almost maroonish red and a very, very thin stripe, which goes back to the origin of how that flag originated, which is a neat story, which we're not going to cover right now, but the Austrian flag and Lebanon. So all very, very much lookalikes. So, Switzerland and Tonga. So this is kind of a neat one, just because the Swiss sort of cross is almost looks like it appears in the Tongan flag, except in reverse, isn't it? And the Swiss flag, unusual among European flags, is that it's square. So yeah, Switzerland and Tonga, kind of lookalikes. Liechtenstein and Haiti. So very, very, very similar lookalikes. And I think the both of the flags originally did not have these crests on them, and in order to differentiate themselves, at least this is the vexillology history of this whole thing, that they put those elements in there to sort of distinguish one another, but very, very similar. Definitely lookalikes. High on the list of lookalikes. And up next we have some of my favorite flags: the Vatican, San Marino, and the Canary Islands. They're all kind of similar-ish, but you know, in terms of colors and things like that. The Vatican and San Marino are both Italian states. Vatican, its own city-state, and San Marino is its own country within Italy. Well, it's city-state within Italy. So these are sort of look-alike-ish, if you will, but definitely there's some resonances between them. And Sicily and the Isle of Man. I like this one because they kind of look the same, and these again aren't sort of nation flags, but they have this element in them, if you look closely, called a Triskelion. So kind of pay attention to what these flags look like here. And these last two, Sicily and the Isle of Man, aren't nations, but they share a very unique design only found in Europe called a Triskelion. They're just for fun. I mean, again, they're not national flags, but they are national flags in their own right. In fact, they're just there for fun. There are many, many more flags around the world that look similar that I have not included on this list, which I will be updating. And I've just shown you ones that are European in origin. For example, if you compare non-European flags of India to that of Niger or Italy or Mexico, then you're going to see some vast similarities across those ranges. And there are also numerous flags of territories that have the Union Jack in it, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, all of which have had some sort of connection to the British Empire. So those would be among the list as well. And if you dig even deeper down to the level of regional, state, and city flags, you will see some startling and even puzzling similarities to international flags. And there are a myriad of flag imposter lookalikes yet to be explored. So let's take a look at a couple more. Lithuania and Myanmar. So the nation of Lithuania, or Lietuva, has its famous gold, green and red flag. It's one of the most beautiful flags. But if you look at the flag of Myanmar or Burma, it kind of looks eerily similar, except there's a star splatted right on the middle of that. So very much a look-alike, isn't it? Belarus, Burkina Faso, and Madagascar. Pretty similar, with the red and green and white elements in there. So that's kind of a neat one. This is definitely a look-alike, which is Ukraine and the flag for Dalmatia, which is in Croatia. Blue and yellow. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for watching this little tutorial and sort of splash out extravaganza on the flags of European countries and their lookalikes. It's also a wildly popular blog post that I've written on the FamilyHistoryFoundation.com. So head over there if you want to check it out. There's all sorts of articles on genealogy, family history, books, book collections, all sorts of cool things over there. And like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you like it. Encourage you to do so. Drop a comment if you thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.